Shadow of the Colossus Epic Battles gets an action RTS remix on this open world game about defending an ever growing tower built on top of a friendly giant. Magical ninja movements meets tower defense strategy like you've never seen. So I was looking at this game and it looked pretty interesting. I'm actually a big fan of Shadow of the Colossus. That was actually the game that pretty much made me decide to get a PS4 because it was one of those things. I had played it on PS2 back in the day. One of my buddies had let me borrow it, so I got to actually experience what it was like and everything like that. And when they did do the remaster or whatnot that they had for PS4, I bought the game thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna buy the game just to own it so I can have a copy of it. I'm not planning on actually playing it because I didn't want to get a PS4 at the time. But I bought the game, and then Lord and behold, a day later, I ended up actually buying a PS4. So it was one of those things. It was kind of like the game that got me a little bit into more of like the modern gaming at that time because this was around when PS4 was a big console. It was before the PS5. So yeah, the fact that they're actually coming out with a game that's very similar, I think is pretty cool. Now, I haven't watched the whole trailer for it. I just saw little bits and pieces, just kind of skimmed through it real quick, and it looked interesting, so I figured it was something I can go ahead and do a video on, and then we can go ahead and check out. So, as always, we'll go ahead and read the article here, see what we got, and then we'll check out the trailer itself. So, let's get into this. Shadow of the Colossus's lonely world and epic battles against towering foes makes for an almost unrepeatable experience. So, one new indie game is instead giving us that formula and action strategy twist where you're commanding a big beast across the world rather than slaying it while building a fortitude tower on its back, which I think is pretty cool. The fact that they're actually going like a little bit of a different route, because I'm sure many people, if they were to kind of hear the theme of this game and what you're supposed to do, more than likely they would just be thinking to themselves, oh, so like Shadow of the Colossus. But the fact that they're able to put that little bit of a twist on it, I think is pretty cool. So, Burgeist quietly stomps on Steam earlier this month on October 14th, but its central premise should have probably made a lot more noise than it did on release. Just like the influential PS2 classic, Burgeist has you searching for a way to wake up a cursed, slumbering loved one in a sacred, mysterious, sometimes eerily quiet open world. And see, that's what I'm talking about. That sounds exactly like the premise of Shadow of the Colossus. The only difference would be that, again, you'd be actually helping out these towering creatures as opposed to trying to defeat them. So the difference here is that you're not simply fighting massive beasts. You're commanding the titular Bergeist, a great white creature that hunges over from the weight of an ever growing tower from a third person perspective. Think brutal legends, but there's also a tower defense angle as you'll be reinforcing the beast with new turrets and other devices over time, turning the friendly giant into the ultimate walking weapon. So that again, I think is really cool how they did that twist on it where you're actually going to be adding weapons to it as well. So once we actually check out the trailer, we'll see a little bit more what it's like. But just hearing that in itself, I think is really cool. So surprisingly, the game doesn't skim on its sick-looking magical ninja movements either. You have a bunch of magical abilities to help you gain higher ground so you can more effectively give Bergeist instructions or rain fire from above. Some of the ways you can chain aerial skills even reminding me of Forspoken's underrated traversal since it has you flinging across the battlefield with quick dashes, double jumps, and even witch broomstick. It looks fast and frantic, and you can keep growing as your arsenal by exploring the open world. So, pretty cool. I think that's awesome. You're able to kind of add stuff to it as well. So, Bergeist has attracted a mass crowd, but the review it does have on Steam are basically universally positive. Jank throwback to the late PS2, early PS3 era. Now, this comment actually made me laugh because for anyone that doesn't know, jank isn't a good thing. That's like kind of calling it like a little bit like cheap or like unnecessary. So the fact that they put jank throwback to the late PS2, they're pretty much saying like a cheap throwback to the late PS2, early PS3 era. So that isn't positive. So whoever wrote this article kind of when I read that the first time, it kind of made me laugh because it's like, no, that's not a good thing. That's actually a bad thing. But the second one here, we'll see. So one player wrote is actually going to be a good thing. So wonderful movements, tech in a hybrid action RPG tower defense game based around height difference determining damage. Definitely influenced by stuff like Nier, Drakard, and Shadow of the Colossus. Insane that it doesn't have way more people talking about it. And it is pretty crazy because I didn't hear anything about this game until I actually looked up this article. So the fact that it is kind of in that vein, I think is really cool, and I think it's something people would enjoy. But again, no one has actually been talking about it, so there's really no hype around it that's been able to progress from there. So we'll go ahead and check out the trailer, and we'll give our thoughts on the game here. And it is kind of crazy just from the beginning, just the
제스티브
way the stones are and everything like that. It really does kind of give the Shadow of the Colossus type of feel, like when you're trying to go after some of the pieces you have to gain to be able to actually work on your, I think it's stamina, and then I forgot what the other one was. There was some other thing that you have to collect so you can get more, I think it's powerful, and it's like these little lizards you have to go after, and they're on these shrines that look kind of similar to like the stones here that they're showing. So right off the back, it kind of gives it a little bit of that Shadow of the Colossus feel, which I think is pretty cool.
الفجر لفانو
Geist. So I love that. I love the fast pace that it has as the character, kind of like I mentioned, jump around, doing the broomstick, and then the double jumps and everything like that. I think that's really cool. I think that'll work out really well with the game, because that is definitely one of the differences when it comes down to this versus Shadow of the Colossus. Because Shadow of the Colossus, it is fun because you are going after the towering monsters, but you're just a regular person kind of going after them, so it is kind of a little bit slower paced as opposed to this that looks like it has like more magic based, where you are able to go like faster than you could as the character from Shadow of the Colossus.
Nazadino Fator Fong, Ibranursi, Talian Sudue.
One thing I do kind of wish it did have a little bit more of would be more of like a realistic look to it, because I know, you know, with the cell shading type of graphics and everything like that, that they're giving it that kind of cartoonish look. It can work, I'm sure. But for me, one of the things I really did like about Shadow of the Colossus was the realism it kind of has. You can kind of see it on PS2 if you play it back in the day, but when they did the remake for it for PS4, like it does look a lot cleaner. And it is one of those things, even watching this trailer right here, it is making me kind of want to go back and throw on Shadow of the Colossus just so I can give it a play, just to enjoy it again. Stuff like that I think is pretty cool. So I'm wondering too, if it's gonna be like how they were showing right there, is this gonna be the Bergeist that you're gonna be controlling while you guys are attacking something else, or is it meant to be just like one of those things where there's like smaller enemies that you're gonna kind of have to go after, kind of like your own size, or is it gonna be bigger creatures kind of like this? I'm just curious.
姐姐，这不单也姐。タナで、リスタビルでヘブンジだ。How far, whenever, wherever.
And it's one of those things too. I am curious how they're gonna go about it. Is it gonna be one of those things if you do have to go after the bigger creatures that I paused it on earlier? If you do kind of like the same way they did do Shadow of the Colossus, where is it gonna be one of those things like where the character you're trying to save because they're in a slumber with a curse, is it going to be something kind of like where you kind of get possessed the way they did it in Shadow of the Colossus? Because for anyone that doesn't know, anytime you would beat a creature in Shadow of the Colossus, it's almost like their spirit would get absorbed by you, and the more creatures you end up defeating, it's like almost like the curse starts coming onto you, so that eventually your character almost becomes like a demon themselves, and like a shadow of what they used to be, kind of a thing. So I'm wondering if they're going to go that same direction, or if they're going to kind of try to change it up, since it is kind of so similar to that game. Yeah, it looks so cool. I like that. I like that they have like the magic elements, but at the same time you can use firepower and everything like that. So I think that's awesome. Like that looks fun. That looks really cool, in my opinion. Guys. ETD October 14th, 2024. So it's already been released for sure. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. One thing I will kind of give it like the possibility of is the fact that with Shadow of the Colossus, because I'm I keep repeating Shadow of the Colossus, but this just looks so similar to it as far as the gameplay and the story. The one thing I am kind of thinking that they will probably have a little bit of an upper hand on though is the fact that it does look like there's more characters than just, the main character that you're probably going to be playing as well as the character that you're trying to save. It does look like there's other people that will be involved in the game as well, probably like friends and family members in the story. So I feel like that will probably give it a little bit more of an advantage because in Shadow of the Colossus, it is one of those things. The main characters you see throughout most of the game, it's just the main character, like I said earlier, the main character you play as, and then the main character, the character that you're trying to save, and then of course your horse. But other than that, you don't really see any other characters up until like the last few kind of Titan or Colossus that you have to defeat in the game. So with this looks like it does have potential to actually have more of a story behind it and more kind of lore that you can probably go off of versus Shadow of the Colossus. So I think that would be pretty cool and probably something that they can actually use to their advantage, which would be pretty cool for them. So yeah, I think this game looks pretty awesome. Definitely something to check out if given the opportunity to. I'm gonna see if I can, check it out if I got the opportunity to. If not, then I'll probably end up watching someone stream it and see what they think, kind of get their thoughts on the whole thing. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Is this like something that you guys would be picking up or playing? And if so, if you already have played it, let me know what you guys think. If you guys think this is definitely worth checking out at least. So if you guys can leave a like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys have been watching this long, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And yeah, until next time, Harmonic out. Peace.